Alright guys, in today's video we have some very interesting information to go over in regards to the PlayStation 5 and how it holds up against the competition, that being the next generation Xbox. We have a third-party developer who works for Crytek coming out here and saying some really positive things about Sony's next generation console, and I am going to emphasize a third-party developer who works for Crytek. Yes, we are not talking about a Sony developer, as many people would want you to believe. Anybody who's telling you that the only developers saying positive things about Sony's next-gen console are Sony devs, they are lying. And I know what some other people are going to say. They're going to say, MBG, you shouldn't be reporting on this because this individual retracted their statements. Now, I'm going to read this to you here, and after we go over everything in this video, it should be very obvious to you as to why this individual retracted their statements. So before we go any further, do me a favor, hit the like button if you want to help the video out or if you are excited about the PS5, and hit the subscribe button as well. But it says here that Crytek's Ali Salahai, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, has reportedly retracted his statements on the PS5 since they first made the rounds online. A Twitter user who translated Salahai's interview wrote today that Ali Salahai doesn't confirm the content of the interview anymore due to personal reasons. The user also deleted all of their tweets containing Salahai's quotes. It's unclear whether Salahai was asked to retract his statement by Crytek or if he broke some sort of non-disclosure agreement. So yes, I'm putting this out in front because, as I said, after we go over what this individual had to say about the PS5, it's going to become very obvious why they had to retract their statements. And I'll tell you this right off the bat, just because they retracted their statements does not mean their statements are false. So let's get into it here. So this Ali Salahai individual, he is the Crytek developer that talked about the PlayStation 5, and it says here, when asked how the two next-generation consoles compare, he says other developers are claiming the PS5 is, quote, the easiest console they have ever coded on to reach its peak performance, unquote. He goes on to say he thinks the PS5 is, quote, extremely simple and has so many abilities to make the devs so free, unquote. He concludes by stating the PS5 is, quote, a better console than the next generation Xbox, unquote. Salahai also praises the PS5's ultra-fast SSD. He explains that the Xbox Series Quick Resume feature, which lets you put multiple games into a suspended state and switch between them within a few seconds, could be achieved on PS5 in under 1 second. Gee, I wonder if one of the reasons why he had to retract his statements was because he basically just revealed something that Sony has been saving for quite some time. Yeah. So going on here, it says when asked which of the two consoles he personally prefers to work with, Salahai confidently says PS5, quote, without a moment of hesitation, unquote. He adds, quote, as a programmer, I say PS5 is much better, and I don't think you can find a programmer that could name one advantage that the Xbox Series has over the PS5, unquote. Some pretty bold statements there from Ali Salahai, and I'm sure many of you can obviously see why he had to retract his statements. Now, it could be one of two reasons. The first and most likely reason, as I've already stated, is because he probably did say things here that he was not supposed to say. No, we're not talking about him praising the PS5. Most likely him revealing that the PlayStation 5 apparently features the exact same quick resume feature that the Xbox Series does and can switch games and resume games in under 1 second. I'm almost positive that that is something Sony does not want to be talked about right now in regards to their next-gen console. They want it to save it as kind of like a surprise or just something that they can reveal themselves when they finally show off the PS5. But also you have to take into account, and this is the second reason I think he may have retracted his statements here, you have to imagine that what he's saying here is probably not sitting so well with Microsoft, because we do have to understand he is one individual that is representing the entirety of Crytek. They are a third-party developer, and they do have a working relationship with Microsoft. So it's very possible that Microsoft could have said, hey, what are you doing, Crytek? And then Crytek, you know, the executives there probably asked this to be taken down. That's another possibility. And I'd say a third possibility is what this individual is saying. kicks a lot of sand directly into the face of the hardcore Xbox fanboys who continually try to convince you that the PS5 is some kind of trash console that developers are going to have some kind of hard time with. And we have just days after an Xbox fanboy does this big nonsensical write-up about how developers are having trouble optimizing their code for the PS5 and it's having overheating issues. Days after that, we have an actual credible developer who's working with the PS5 coming out here and straight up saying it's the better console. It's the easier console to develop for. It's the better console in general, and when asked directly which one he thinks is better, he straight up says the PS5. Again, this is not a Sony developer, this is a third-party developer. Now listen, if you're somebody who wants to walk away from this video and tell yourself, well, none of this matters because he retracted his statements, so none of it's true. You go ahead and do that, but just know, in the back of your head, keep it there somewhere in the back of your head, that what this developer is saying is very, very similar to what a lot of other third-party and first-party developers have been saying about the PlayStation 5. Granted, I will admit that what this individual from Crytek is saying, he's not pulling any punches. He's just straight up like, yo, PS5 is better. He doesn't know one programmer that he thinks could say the Xbox Series actually has something that is better to a developer than the PlayStation 5. So, yeah, I had to take some time to cover this because it's just another situation, another scenario that we're seeing that proves Sony knows what they're doing here. And I know that, Xbox fanboys are so desperate to hang on to that 12 T-flop number, and they need to convince themselves and their followers that that is really all that's going to matter. That there's going to be some massive performance difference and just this huge graphical gap. Like, there will not be that. I assure you, it will not be that serious. I mean, think about it. Like, you think about the law of diminishing returns. They will play a part in all of this. And not even just that, but how many developers need to come out here and basically tell you straight up, like, look, Sony, not even developers as well. We'll talk about the developers, but we also have well-versed individuals who know what they are talking about. They understand the PlayStation 5 specifications more so than most people. They understand everything Mark Cerny was explaining and talking about the next generation PlayStation. Between both of these individuals, or these types of individuals coming out, straight up devs who are working on this console, and people who know exactly what this console is going to do for games, and they're all coming out here saying the same things. How many times do you need to hear it said? I guess it's just, it doesn't matter. I feel like even if Phil Spencer came out himself and said, yeah, the PS5 is the better console, the hardcore Xbox fanboys are just not going to want to hear that. They're not going to want to believe it. And people are going to argue with me and say, dude, you're disputing facts here. Okay? It's math. It's numbers, right? And on spec sheets, the numbers say that the Xbox Series is the better console. Fine. If that's how you want to see it, then fine. You're not technically wrong. But as I always say, at the end of the day, the proof will be in the pudding. But more importantly, we're gonna have to try that pudding ourselves to really figure out just how good it is. And something tells me that Sony's is going to be pretty damn good. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Maybe I'm being too much of a fanboy myself here. But listen, I don't care about power at the end of the day. I really don't care if this developer wants to tell me that the PS5 is the greatest console, because at the end of the day, there's a reason why I'm choosing the PS5 over the next generation Xbox, and that reason is very simple. That's because Sony has proved to me with the PlayStation 4 their commitment to single-player AAA games. And I am very excited for what Microsoft has. I'm very excited for what they're going to be doing, hopefully, with their own games. And they've done a pretty good job in, catching my attention and making me pay attention. Like, okay, Microsoft, the floor is yours in 2020. Show me what games you have to offer. I hope they deliver. But that's why I'm going to be sticking with PlayStation day one when it comes to the next generation. And just hearing these developers say this about the next gen console and what the PS5 is capable of, it's just the icing on the cake. That's what these Xbox guys don't realize. Like, they they fail to understand that this is pretty much all you guys have right now. And I hope it isn't the only thing you have in the long run. Like, I hope we get more from Microsoft. That's what I want. But I'm telling you, man, like, Sony is not... Just do not listen to the individuals who are trying to tell you that Sony doesn't know what they're doing, or they're messing up, or they're silenced. Like, I've seen people actually try to bring the argument up to me, like, well, Sony hasn't showed off their console yet, and that silence speaks volumes. Clearly, it means that these rumors of overheating and issues, they're true. I'm going to take you back to 2013, okay? While we did know more about the next generation going into the PlayStation 4 at this point in time in 2013, Sony did not show off the PS4 console until June, and they didn't do their big info blowout until June. They basically talked about their vision for the PlayStation 4 and, you know, what they want to do with Mark Cerny, very similar to what they just did with the deep dive, but they didn't actually show off the console until June. And so I'm just bringing this up at the end here because these are the types of arguments that I'm seeing from these people who want to try to convince me and others that we shouldn't be excited and that there's nothing to be excited about. And to that I just say, you know what? Read it and weep, honestly. Read it and weep. I mean, if you want to hang on to the fact that this developer retracted their statements, even though it's very obvious why they had to retract their statements, it's not because they didn't mean what they said. It's because they weren't supposed to say what they said. There's a big difference. So let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below, guys. I'm going to be very interested to see what you have to say. Try to keep it clean, but I know that, you know, having conversations like this can easily get people worked up, but I just had to really go in with this because, you know, the pushback that PlayStation fans are getting anymore, it's getting a little bit ridiculous. So, you know, I'm not sitting here saying that the PS5 is the more powerful console or the better console. Instead, I'm presenting information where a developer is actually the one saying this, a third-party developer at that. So leave your thoughts down below. Leave the video a like if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.